Ta-da! And we're live, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Midday Show. Hello, it's really good to be here. Thank you so much for tuning in, and lovely to have you along on this fine Wednesday. I'm on a bit of a health kick this week. A late gig last night in Margate. Went to a comedy gig. It was a little theatre. It's like really cute. I don't even know what the word is. Bijou, bourgeois. I don't know. A little tiny theatre. Kind of imagine a doll's house crossed with a theatre. Crossed with a sort of novelty theme parky type thing. And that was it. It's a place called the Tom Thumb Theatre in Margate. And I closed the show last night with 20 minutes of reasonably funny rudeness. So a bit of a long drive back this morning for a 7 o'clock radio show. And now a midday one, but that's my problem, not yours. We have a great guest today I'm going to bring onto the stage. Please do stick your comments in the comment box. Always like to get you interacting and all that good stuff. And Leslie Thomas is on the show, founder of the Money Confidence Academy, no less.
Good afternoon, Neil. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Leslie Thomas, founder of the Money Confidence Academy, and I'm absolutely intrigued to hear all about this. Tell us how we can have money confidence. In fact, give us your backstory first of all. How did you end up here doing this?
Oh my goodness, how long's the show?
We've got about 4 days, is that all right? Is it a twisty and turny story, is it?
I'll give you the summary then.
So
I started off in corporate telecommunications. I spent 20 years working for BT and then for the mobile phone company Orange that became Everything Everywhere and then EE. I left in 2010 to join my husband in his business where he sells ski property, but I found that did not really float my boat. So I decided to retrain as a business coach in 2020. Right. I was going to become a confidence coach for women, making the leap from corporate into running their own business. But the more I studied the subject of confidence and self-worth and self-value, something kept coming up time and time again. And that was money. It was the M word. Absolutely. It was money. And what became very apparent is the effect that our relationship with money has on our self-confidence, our feelings of worthiness and value. And the more I looked into it, the more I could see that relationship was holding a lot of people back. So the Money Confidence Academy was born. I started my podcast, Let's Talk Money and More. And everything for me is about helping my clients to understand it's not about being financial experts. It is about having self-trust in how well you manage money, and how much money you have is not a reflection of your self-worth or your self-value.
Yes, I heard a pithy phrase about it once. What was it? It was, I can't remember it exactly. It was something you put on a fridge magnet. It was along the lines of exactly that. It was your money in the bank is not a reflection. It's basically what you just said, but put in a little. I can't remember it. It come to me, but a lot of people have that because a lot of us associate money with success, and even in a really mature mindset where people aren't really competing with each other and it's more a cooperative abundance mindset, if you like, there is still that correlation between money and self-worth, and I've had it too, and comparison and all that sort of thing, which really is a waste of time, because ultimately we're all worthy, aren't we? And then it's just a question of a few good skills and a positive and a positive money mindset. There must be a lot of mindset work that you do.
Absolutely. A lot of people,
unearthing of beliefs and things that have people picked up growing up. Money doesn't grow on trees. There's a big one, which actually before it became plastic, it kind of did, if you think about it. But
exactly. But I think a lot of people think that having a good money mindset is all that you need to have money confidence. It's not. Money confidence comes from having financial literacy, so understanding the basics of how money works for you, having the right money mindset to believe it is possible for you to have the level of success that is relevant for you, because success is obviously very subjective, and I'm sure we'll get on to that in a moment. But money confidence is when you have self-trust to put into play the financial literacy, the belief that it is possible for you to be successful, and that you will take the action because you have self-trust, not because you believe it won't go wrong, because you have the self-trust that if it does go wrong, it's gone wrong based on the best evidence that you had at the time, but you have the ability to get things back on track. Because for lots of us, we go on courses, we take qualifications, but we don't necessarily then take that next step to do the thing that we have trained in, because we believe there are people out there that are better than us, that we're only going to fail, so why try in the first place?
Because they've got something that we haven't. I mean, I've never considered myself particularly good at business. I'm good at what I do, pretty good on the radio, not bad stand-up comedy, but business, don't think you'll be seeing me on Sir Alan Sugar's show anytime soon. But that's a belief. Maybe I am better at business than I think I am, but and I love the way you say it's personal as well. So it doesn't you don't have to take these quantum leaps from sort of zero to multi-millionaire overnight. And in fact, studies show, don't they, that if you do win the lottery, you kind of go back down to a baseline that we've all got. So it's a question of raising that base, within a couple of years. So it's a question of raising that baseline, isn't it? And I imagine you do a lot of baseline raising. That sounds like a DJ term, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
So there is a book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And he talks about this, this inner thermometer that we all have, where it sets, we set that bar, that ceiling that we bang up against, and it's only when you
we set it, or is it set by others when we didn't know they were setting it?
Well, usually it is set when we, between the ages of round about 2 and 7, as a result of our parents and what we are assuming and consuming from our parents, basically. So our money mindset is set, our relationship with money is set by the age of 7. But what very often happens is it gets reinforced and layered upon due to the experiences we have at primary school, due to the experiences we have at secondary school, or the interactions we have with other people. That
it must be quite big to root out, because if you think about it, the version of sort of reality that I've heard, and see if you agree with this, is that we've got a set of beliefs, and the world mirrors the beliefs that we have. Okay, so it doesn't matter how we got the belief. It could be given by mum, it could have been given by media, religion, whatever, and we will go out in the world, and because of the reticular activating system in our brains, we will look for evidence of what we believe. We will then get more of what we believe, which will reinforce the belief in the first place. So we're in a kind of illusion of our own creation, but we don't know that we're the ones creating it. Is that right?
And that's exactly it.
And if everyone's doing that, and if the whole world is operating on that sort of idea of lack, no wonder we've got money problems.
And that is exactly it. When we look at what's going on, specifically in the UK at the moment, if you watch the news, read the media, go onto social media, you are consuming a lot of negativity, and you are consuming. I can't hear you, Neil. You've muted.
No, it's all right. I'm talking to my producer while you're talking. Go on.
Okay, sorry. So you're consuming a lot of negativity. If you are a 19, 20-year-old boy, you're being told you'll never own a house. You're unlikely to get a pay rise. You might struggle to get a job. If you get a job, you might struggle to hold on to it. If you're dealing in an environment where you're constantly being told it's hard, it's difficult, you won't be able to, then unless you actually have the inner tools to be able to say, hang on a minute, but there are people out there who are getting jobs, who are getting pay rises, who are getting on the housing ladder. I'm going to be one of those people. I'm not going to be one of those, like I am a number being referred to, because what the media doesn't want is to suddenly be proved wrong. Well, actually, people are getting on the housing ladder. Actually, people are building successful businesses, because bad news tends to sell more readily than good news does. So you're
absolutely right. I mean, I've worked in media for years, and I can absolutely vouch for its negative bias.
Yeah.
It's absolutely a ridiculous negative bias. We need more conversations like this.
Absolutely.
You will never, ever, ever, ever see a headline saying 2 million planes landed completely safely today with the passengers in complete well-being.
Yeah, exactly.
You will, however, see the headline. You know what I mean? When one doesn't, and it's that, isn't it? And I think people love the drama, and I think people play to that drama. And I think there's a lot of the Schadenfreude going on as well, where people think, oh, my life's awful, but it's not as bad as that person over there, and feel a bit better. And that's not bad, but it is really insidious, isn't it? Because it's not healthy, is it? It's not a healthy belief system.
Yeah. It comes back to the bar, doesn't it? You've just spoken about the inner bar.
That's a pretty low bar.
Exactly. That you go, my life's rubbish, but actually it's not as rubbish as that person's. Therefore, I will be happy with what I have. Rather than go, well, actually, I want to be able to improve my lot. How can I do that? What are the steps that I can take? Or shall I just sit here looking at the rhetoric that is going on currently and perform to the bar of the rhetoric, rather than saying, well, no, I can get above that, and I can get above it because I can find examples of people that have done that.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfectly said. So say I come to you and I say, Leslie, I'm useless with money. I want to make a load more money. I want to be rich and I want to be happy. What would you, because there's another one, isn't it? That rich people are evil, miserable, and because we consider ourselves good, that's another rhetoric, isn't it? We don't want to be like them over there, those rich, greedy people, you know. And of course, there is a case for being grateful for what we have, but that's only one side of the coin for me. The best, actually, it ties in fully with what you're saying. The best mindset to begin from is happy now and eager for more, not either or, not either one. Not I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I'm a millionaire. No, I'm going to be grateful and appreciate what I have now. Because if we get more of what we focus on, our belief system, what we appreciate, we'll tend to appreciate in the accounting term, isn't it? So it's both hands. So I'm coming to you. I'm a client. I'm like, Leslie, really, I can't win the lottery. I can't do it anymore. Where do I? And actually, using me as an example, I've got lots of, as many of us have, I'm not special, but like a lot of us, I've got a lot of skills. I can do radio, I can do stand-up, I can do podcasting, I'm pretty good at teaching DJing and all that sort of thing. I can do mobile disco gigs, I can do all these things, and I'm quite good at maths. But it's just a question of getting all this stuff out there. How do you then, once you've, so many questions coming up here. I'll ask one at a time. First, what would you do with me? And then what would you say to the people that are skilled but don't know how to get themselves out there? Is that part of what you teach?
Absolutely. I think the first thing is to understand why you have the limiting beliefs that you have already.
Right.
So there's a lot of deep work that goes on with regards to going right back to that very first memory that you have around money. And that very first memory will be there somewhere around about the age of 4, and then to track forward from there as best as you can remember what was going on with regards to what you were seeing and hearing around money, to do with your parents, your main caregivers, because your grandparents might have been involved. And how did that then get layered upon as you were going through your life?
I remember my grandma used to stay over my house, in this house actually, and she'd be in the little room upstairs and she'd be counting her pension, counting the coins. I would say our family was comfortable. I wouldn't say we were rich, but I wouldn't say we were poor either. We were that middle ground. Yeah. I was lucky to have, is it all right to use me as an example?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I was lucky to have people around me that were good with money and were generous as well, like, close relatives and all that sort of thing. So I felt very financially supported. But then, of course, all those people are sadly no longer with us. So there was a point in my life when suddenly that was all gone and I had a lot of catch up to do. Yeah. Of really taking responsibility, but not really knowing how. And then you've got people at the other end of the spectrum that have had to fight for everything all their life, and they've got more resilience than I might have, but I wouldn't say they're any happier. To them, life is a fight, a struggle.
Yeah. So going back to your experience growing up, you were surrounded by nurturers, essentially, people who wanted to look after you, make you feel safe and secure, and were generous with handing over financial resources to you.
And looking back, I mean, like, because you assume the whole world is that way, and it's not. And looking back, I was very blessed.
Yeah. But what that can do is that can lead you to be in a position where you need to be looked after. You've not learned the ability to look after yourself. You haven't learned how to manage money for yourself. And lots of parents fall into that trap of wanting to look after their children, but not realizing what they're creating is dependency, not independency.
Understood. I had some therapy about 5 years ago with a wonderful lady called Rosie, who always shout out on the show. She told me this fascinating statistic, and you're absolutely right, is that, and this might sound quite shocking, but people that have had terrible childhoods and sort of, abuse and that sort of thing, are on a par with the damage that can be created from wrapping someone in cotton wool too much, like you say. And I thought, they can't be the same. That's impossible. She went, yep. And I'm like, wow. That's a real insight, because it's really nice to have the whole world around you doing what you want it to do, and people that help you at every turn. But what happens when that's not there? What happens when you can't do that anymore? What happens when you're kind of up the creek without a paddle, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's because all of a sudden, your window on the world becomes a lot larger, and that view is not a familiar view. You've never had it before. You've never had to manage it or understand it previously. And all of a sudden you're thrown out into that environment, and you're having to find a way to learn about something you've never been taught about. And I think there's a big misunderstanding that when a child reaches the legal age of 18, that all of a sudden, because they're 18 and they have legal responsibility, they are responsible. But they're not, particularly, boys, men, because our brains, particularly a male brain, doesn't finish developing until they're 26, 27. So somebody years ago arbitrarily decided 18 was the age of legal responsibility.
It's arbitrary. I mean, my daughter was 18 12 years ago, and I certainly didn't say, right, you're 18, you're on your own now. Of course they still need nurture and support. Of course they do. Absolutely. I still do it now, and she's 30. I probably will for the rest of my life. That it doesn't. Our needs for support and love don't change just because we arbitrarily turn 18.
And that's exactly it. And I think as well, but when it comes to money, because money is not something that, first of all, it's not taught in enough schools. It's not taught in enough detail in the schools it's taught in. And nothing is taught in schools with regards to our relationship with money. And that is the most important part. If schools taught anything, it should be about how our relationship with money gets tied up in our own sense of self-worth.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, there we go. Self-destruction happens when we don't have a sense of self-worth. If we are completely confident in who we are and how we act and react in the world, then we wouldn't have the problems that we have as individuals. We wouldn't have comparatinitis. We wouldn't have us feeling that we had to behave and act in a certain way. Teaching children about financial literacy, yes, is important, but actually go to any bank. Any bank will give you online the 10 lessons you need to know about how to budget, how to save, how to invest. If it just came down to financial knowledge, there wouldn't be anybody struggling with money. It's because our relationship with money has nothing to do with budgeting and spreadsheets, but everything to do with how it makes us feel, how it makes us, the emotions that come up for us, and then as a result, how we act.
Some of the beliefs I got growing up about money doesn't grow on trees. To have success, you have to work really, really hard, probably for years at something you don't like doing. and then you can maybe, if you're lucky, be happy when you retire and have a few, you know, a few shekels in the bank. Money is evil. That was one, and that comes from the Bible, except it doesn't. That's not what it says.
Exactly.
No. Money is possibly dangerous. If you become rich, you become a target. You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
What else? And then I started thinking about it. I thought, well, hang on, so it's just something we trade of value for value as an exchange of value between each other. I read Paul McKenna's fascinating book, I Can Make You Rich. Don't know if you've read it, which is half mindset and half business skills, and it's brilliant. An NLP book basically, and you learn things like where we got our word salary from, which was salarium, salt, because we used to get paid in salt or shells, conch shells, and that's where we get our term shell out. And it's just, it's a token. It's not a thing, but we attach so much, if you're right, so much of ourselves to that thing. I'm better than that person if I have money. I'm worse than that person if I don't have money. Comparisonitis, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think as well, the analogy I like to use is you have a nice garden, but one day you decide to look over your fence into your neighbour's garden and you see a greener lawn. You see beautifully kept bushes. You see flowers that, you know, are immaculate. They've been de-headed. And then you look at your garden and all of a sudden your love for your garden is tainted because it's not as nice as your neighbour's garden.
It's a tainted love.
Tainted love, absolutely. And in the book, The Psychology of Money, the author gives the example of the baseball. I'll kind of summarize it, and I'll be not necessarily quite right as far as the figures are concerned, but I'll be in the right scale. So the baseball player is not happy with his lot. He earns $10 million a year, but the basketball player, who's his neighbor, earns $15 million a year. But the basketball player isn't happy with his lot because his next door neighbor on the other side is a heavyweight champion who earns $20 million a year. And so the story goes on, basically, that if
it's a chain of pain, isn't it? I remember, Leslie, in the Paul McKenna book that I'll take that dash off at the end. In the Paul McKenna book, there was a survey done, and it was: would you rather earn an extra 10 grand a year, but earn less than a colleague at work, or would you rather you both earned less, but you earned a little bit more than him? Right, now there's a question, and guess what most people went for? I want to earn more, even though it will cost them 10 grand.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it is interesting, isn't it? And how it gets you thinking about your values, because I think
this is ego, isn't it? This is ego, better and worse. You know, rich people are not horrible and unfriendly. Some are, but there's probably poor people that are horrible and unfriendly and mean as well. You know, it's not money.
And it's definitely not money. All money does, it amplifies what you are already. So if you're already, kind and generous and thoughtful, you will be more kind, generous and thoughtful. If you are miserly, miserable and tight, you will just continue to be those things. Things don't change as a result of how much money you have in your bank account. Your characteristics, your own values, they don't change as a result. And I think once people realize that, they actually can put themselves in a position where they realize, well, actually, by me spending time focusing on what my neighbor has, and he's focusing time on what he has, how is that improving my situation? Is it not better?
It's not, because to go back to your garden analogy, if you don't love your garden, it's going to wither and die.
Yeah, exactly.
And you won't love your garden by being envious or even worse, jealous of your neighbour's garden.
Yeah,
will you?
And That's exactly it. So you spend more time than working on your garden. What is it about your neighbour's garden that you like that you can then take into your own garden? Do you need to water the lawn more? Do you need to not mow it as often? Do you need to utilize different, say to your neighbour, why are your flowers so colourful? Well, I'm using a particular fertilizer. Right, okay, I can go and use that in my garden. So all of a sudden, you're utilizing their experience to improve your experience.
Use it to inspire you.
Exactly.
Or introducing a regular guest on our show, one of our listeners, Dr. Asa Don Brown, Leslie. He's very high up in the psychological community in the USA and Canada, and he's always got some wise words. Dr. Asa, psychologically, negativity sells. This is when we're talking about media. It's all about the drama, conflict, injustices, and tragedies. Yep. It's about evoking an emotional response and stimulating the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. There we go. And I think more recently, he's agreeing with us. Absolutely. It's a societal and familial expectation that we are capable of achieving monetary gain. Yeah.
Very true. Yeah, it's very true. And also the fear of it as well. Because what very often holds, a lot of people stuck is, I can't earn more than my parents did. I can't be more successful than my parents are because it'll make them feel bad. So we use a lot of this emotion to actually keep us where we are because we're afraid of being disliked, because we're afraid of what other people might say. Oh, look at them showing off. Look at them in their brand new car. Look at them moving to their bigger house in the right side of town, rather than thinking, I am modeling an experience that we all can have. We don't all have to continue at the same level. I can show you how we can break free.
Yes, exactly. I love that. It's about using the experience to inspire you rather than make you feel bad, because surely we need some people to demonstrate abundance and success to make us realize we can have it for ourselves. Without it, it's the blind leading the blind, and probably the skint leading the skint as well.
Yeah. And that very often that is what happens. Very often people will listen to somebody who has the same or less than them, rather than listening to the experience of those who have gone before them, or to make the excuses. It's okay for them because. And you know what's going to follow the because? A limiting belief.
Because he was born with a silver spoon up his fundament. He was born with it. He's this, he's that, he's elitist, he's privileged, he's spoiled, she, whatever. Yeah. And all of that. All of that. Tell us more. This is fascinating. So this is all mindset.
Yeah.
So once we've worked on the mindset, and you have techniques for removing these limiting beliefs.
Oh God, yeah. So I am trained in probably every technique it's possible. So NLP, timeline therapy. I'm an executive coach, so I use pure coaching. Sometimes it comes down to the ability to properly listen to what somebody is saying, rather than making an assumption of what you are hearing and coming out with an answer before you've heard the full set of facts. So for me, it really is, the listening skill is very, very undervalued, because we're given 2 ears and one mouth for a reason, basically. But a lot of people will jump in because they won't have the confidence to listen. They want to instantly be providing value. They want to instantly be justifying why that person is sitting in front of them, paying to be in front of them, rather than actually listening to what they're saying, how they're saying it. And exactly the same thing applies. So I published a book back in July, a couple of weeks ago, Parents, Let's Talk Money, because it is so fundamentally important for parents to understand that our children are listening and looking at what we are doing when it comes to money. Even if we think we're hiding things from them, our children are picking up on those cues. So it's really important to be aware of the cues we are giving to our children, because they are, particularly between the ages of 0 and 7, at their most impressionable, and therefore they are absorbing like sponges all the limiting beliefs that we, as parents, we are the authors of our children's money story. And if we are not careful, we are just layering upon layering upon layering our limiting beliefs onto them. So
without even knowing that we do it, because like Dave here says, familiarity is normalized, and we seek what is familiar. What reinforces our perception is it's the normal. And I think people also don't think it's safe to have money. It's a fear. Also, I think, and also we also love to complain. You always hear the people moaning about this, moaning about that, always moaning to the wrong people. If you're going to go moan about the boss, probably maybe have a word with him and see if you can sort it out. Moaning down the pub to your mates probably ain't going to fix the situation. You might feel, but oh my God, we love to moan. But moaning and blaming doesn't really solve anything, does it?
And I think, it's a temporary fix, isn't it? It allows us to get something off our chest. But because of a money mindset, because we're concerned, if we go and complain to the boss is going to sack us. That is what is ultimately at the back of our minds when it comes to having a conversation with the person that can actually change the thing that we're not happy with.
And if we think about it, the boss doesn't have access to our inner neurology and beliefs. You know what I mean? We're the only ones that can change those. Absolutely. He likes to put the boss on a pedestal. And of course, he's the boss, or she, of course, and deserves to be respected for that matter, as long as they're reasonable. But it doesn't mean that they lord some power over you. That's the power. Power comes from within, so they say,
But also a true leader would recognize that sometimes people on the shop floor have the ability to see something that they haven't spotted because they are, higher up the chain. Then they're not there day to day looking at the operations, hearing what customers are saying, etc. So a good leader will always encourage their people to speak up. Yes, to be polite, and there's a way to go about it, etc. But to recognize that actually great ideas can come throughout the organization. They are not just the remit of the leader of that organization.
And I was having a really good conversation on the Midday Show about a week ago with a wonderful guest, and they talked about micromanagement and the problem with it. And it's because everyone is sort of in that chain of pain and scared of losing their job. So nobody wants to say anything, give or take, up one, they're all scared of the one that's one echelon up, but they don't realize that one is scared of the one echelon up. So everything becomes very insular. And this is why there's these massive organizations that are just like big bellies and two heads, and they don't communicate, and never the twain shall meet.
Exactly.
which is ridiculous. Radio can be like that, which is weird because it's all about communication, not always. So where do we get to? We're going to put on some wonderful tangents here. Beliefs, so techniques, you're trained in tons of techniques to remove beliefs, and then once you remove the beliefs, then what? You send people out in the world, and what happens? Tell me that.
Well, it all depends on why they come to me in the first place. So it can be because they are looking to grow the revenue in their business. It could be that they recognize that they have real problems with boundaries when it comes to talking to clients about overpaid invoices. It could be they have a real problem with their families, and they need to break through the issues they're having with their families that they know are controlling and holding them stuck. But it's never a case of remove the limiting belief and off you go into the world. It's remove that limiting belief, put a plan in place, and take that plan forward, self-adjusting as you go, or referring back if you need further support. Because something that a lot of people don't understand, when it comes to our relationship with money, it's never one and done. New levels, new devils. So you hit that first 6-figure amount, in your business. Great. You've smashed through the first 6 figures, but actually you want to go on to the next set of 6 figures, or you want to go beyond that, or you want to scale to having a team, or you want to franchise your business. And as you're thinking about that next step, the next set of limiting beliefs will come back in again. Who do you think you are? You're just being greedy. You're not being grateful. You've never successfully managed people before. Who are you to think that
Well,
you
this is
can?
the voice of the inner critic, isn't it? We
Absolutely.
talk about
Yeah.
that a lot on this show. And
Yeah.
the inner critic is a horrible little troll that's never
Yeah.
got anything to say and tends to attack you at your weakest moment as well.
Absolutely.
And I've got an inner critic that can be quite loud. And previously, I would let it ruin my day. Now I tell it to STFU, if you get me. But because it's never an inspiring or a positive or an accepting or a self-loving thought ever. It's always critical. It's always negative.
But it's also always self-generated. It's always self-generated because it is our subconscious talking. It is our subconscious talking trying to keep us safe. And how is our subconscious trying to keep us safe? By us carrying on doing what we've always done, because we know the results we're going to get if we keep doing the same things we've always done. So when we recognize it's our subconscious, and rather than seeing her or him as, a troll or something horrible, you see it as a friend that has your best interest at heart, but doesn't ultimately understand why you want to go from where you are. It's the self-trust to go from where you are to where you want to go.
Because I've always had it as a troll, and I'm aware it's trying to keep me safe, but it annoys me. So I have it as a troll.
It annoys me with that.
Yeah. Guarding the bridge and not letting the goats over,
Yeah. And I've completely reframed mine. Mine is my future self, basically. It's my future self who is wanting me to be safe, but at the same time wants me to be living the kind of life that my future self is living. But she doesn't want me to go through that pain and discomfort in order to get there. So she's giving me that reassurance. So very often I will say, it's okay. I know what I'm doing. Look at the evidence. I've gotten here. I'm okay. I'm safe. Trust me on this. If I get it wrong, come out, berate me, tell me off. But for now, trust me, I'm a grown-up.
And does she acquiesce to that?
She largely does. I largely now, not all the time, I largely now have an inner critic that is an inner supporter who needs to be gently reminded of her role sometimes. She needs to have the job description put back in front of her rather than the job description that she has assumed.
So she's well-intended but can be a bit overly bolshy at times.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, a little bit like me, I suppose, my children would say.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Dr. Asa says, Leslie, but I think most children would say that about us. Leslie, I wholeheartedly agree. Great leaders not only have a servant's heart, but are thrilled to help achieve others' success. Yeah, because there's nothing to prove. And Dave always comes up with some wise words as well. Ego and self-gratification are attribute of successful shepherds, not leaders.
Yeah, absolutely.
There we go. Yeah. There we go. So there's a myriad of reasons why people come to you. Family dynamics as well, you say?
Absolutely, because of that connection between, self-worth and self-value, someone's self-worth can have been knocked down, by a parent. And, not all parents, sadly, have their children's best interests at heart. They have their own self-interest at heart. And the effect that they can have on the child, which they then take through into adulthood. If my parents, if my mum, if my dad didn't love me enough, there must be something about me. There must be something that I don't have or haven't done. And that self-doubt then is carried throughout as the voice that is leading them throughout everything that they're doing. So their inner critic almost gets replaced by the parent. The parent's voice gets carried through into their adult behavior.
What tends to wake people up? What tends to wake people up to that? Do people suddenly wake up and go, "Wait a minute, that's not me talking. That's my dead mum's voice"? How do people? I won't say find you because I don't mean it in a marketing sort of way. But what wakes people up? What wakes people up to there must be more than this? I don't know what it is, but there must be more.
I think because we have such an online world these days, I think we are far more able to see other people and the success they're having, how they are doing it, how they are holding themselves, how they are connecting, with other people. So we can see more evidence of what is possible. We can find our tribe. We can break out of we are the sum total of the 5 people we spend most of our time with, because all of a sudden you can be spending time very easily with more people who are no longer echoing the messages. You're no longer in that echo chamber with the same message of, we're okay, we're together. Yes, it's shit out there, but we're shit together. We're all right. When all of a sudden you see people who are having, as you see it, a better life than you, a more successful life than you. Now, there has to be a massive caveat there, because online as well, people can put across the success that they are enjoying.
I know, and I think we have to be very careful with that. I'm glad you said that, because it's very easy. I once dated someone that actually got depressed because she thought by reading Facebook, or I can see what they call it, doom scrolling, that everyone in the world was having an amazing life, apart from her.
Absolutely.
And then there's something wrong with her, blah, 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 blah. And it's quite hard to talk people out of those beliefs. And Facebook is not a good judge.
No, I agree.
People only post the best bits or get into fights with other people, which I tend to keep out of. Or memes about that.
Exactly. And what we have to remember is, you and I are of an age where we can remember life, before social media. Those who are in, earlier generations after us, particularly the young people who don't know what it's like to not have social media, who don't know that people online are trying to create a fictitious impression of their success, how they've had that success, etc. They can be much more accepting and therefore much more able to be duped into certain beliefs, certain behaviors that can lead them down a road that it's very, very difficult to return back from. And that's why it's really important to remember that the window on the world is now much greater, much larger. So that is good. But with it is far more opportunity for harm to happen, because we can compare ourselves, because we can believe what's in front of our eyes, etc. And therefore, again, coming back to, a parent's role is to help our children to understand what they stand for and what they need to be looking out for, and not to be taken in just because somebody says it's so doesn't mean it's so.
Yeah, absolutely. It might be so for that person, but again, they say misery loves company, and we all need a sort of to peep through our window on the world and see other people doing different things, different good things. But again, you're right. I'm just sort of thinking this through as we go. There is that very negative influence side, which we do have to be, very, very, very careful of. And people will exploit that. People do exploit that all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I can remember. So we are talking now in my garden office. So my house is, at the other end of the garden.
It looks very nice, by the way. I love the wood paneling, by the way. Very nice.
I'm not in my sauna. I very often get asked, "Am I in my sauna?" No, I'm not. Although in a heat wave, it does turn into a sauna. Absolutely.
I can imagine it does. Yeah.
Exactly. But I can remember about 8-9 months ago walking down into the house. And my youngest son was really excited. Mum, I think I've won a prize in a competition. I said, "Oh, brilliant. What competition was that?" "Well, I don't know, because I don't remember entering it." And I said, "So Sam, just rerun those words by yourself again. I've won a prize in a competition, but I don't remember entering the competition." Okay. So what do you need to do to get the prize? So, well, all I need to do is I have to send off a check for X amount of money, or I can pay by card. And I said, "So say that again, sir." And all of a sudden he stopped. He said, "Oh my God, Mum, it's a scam, isn't it?" I said, "Yeah, exactly. It's a scam." And I speak to
you did well there. That's a wise woman talking, because you let him come to the idea for himself.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the important thing to do. We've had the conversation, but because because the scammers know what to do, you've won a prize. Congratulations. The dopamine, comes up to the surface, fizzing up to the surface, and you get excited. And all those things that we have been taught, be careful, check out legitimacy, goes out the window because I've won a prize. And that's what the scammers want. They want us to fall for what they're doing because we've gotten excited, because we've taken action in the way that they want us to. And it's only afterwards, when the dopamine settles back down again, do we go, hang on a minute.
I do have a little side hustle now. We're talking about scammers. I do it on the radio. I call it Scam Watch.
Yeah.
And I just love mocking scammers. I've got a couple of bits on my YouTube channel, and it's just winding them up. I'll just share one very quickly with you as a little aside. It's a guy called Tony Jack, apparently, who friended me on Facebook. So I had a look at his profile, because that's always a red flag. And let's quickly go to his profile. Now, on paper, this would seem to be the perfect man. These are his pictures. I don't know if you can see that, but there's power in Jesus. So he's a Christian. He's also, I mean, he ticks all the boxes, Leslie. He's also a surgeon, a medic,
divorced, probably.
Loves divorced, loves animals.
Yeah.
Loves animals. Bit of a testosterone fueled hunk as well. Yeah.
It's a shame I'm happily married, because you're selling him to me here.
Oh no, wait for it. It gets better. Suited and booted. Loves Christmas too. Look, and another nice suit, and just a happy picture of him looking up at the sky, no doubt, making alpha waves in his brain. The only thing he doesn't seem to have, and you would think as a person from LA, he would do. The only thing he doesn't have is a particularly good grasp of English. So what I've started doing on the radio is do your own scam watch. So I've started a Facebook conversation with him, and I open it up to the listeners of what should I say next? What should we say next? So we've got, so let's just find him. So he said to me, can we get to know each other? Hi, wave, hello, thanks for accepting I said, hello Tony, do I know you? Let's get to know each other. I said, why? And then I put it out to the listeners, and we get some random thoughts come in. So I said, here's a fun question, listener suggestion. How fast can you do a Rubik's Cube? Now you think this Christian sport loving,
Christmas loving,
divorce, Christmas loving, affluent man would have a good grasp of the English language. What do you, Rubik Cube? Right? How are you doing today? So I answered the question with listener suggestions. I removed the stickers, then go to church on Sunday and do 3 Hail Marys. Also, seeing as we're friends now, Tony, could I please use your bank account to store $12 million US, which should be given to me by the King of Nigeria? I'm just waiting to see what he says. Next. And you can hear the update on that tomorrow morning on Radio Jackie at 8:45.
Oh, I should look forward to the next installment. And I always
you're right. Go on, after you.
As I say, I always wonder, because as you say, they're always very, very handsome men that, the photographs they choose. Are they real men, or are they AI generated? And if they're not AI generated, does that person know his photographs being used?
That is a very good question, and there's many documentaries where people have stolen someone's identity. They could be dead or whatever, and they put this typical to tick the boxes, to, as you say, spike the dopamine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's loads of YouTube documentaries on love rats and all that sort of thing, and they're not talking to Tony Jack. He probably doesn't exist, or it might be someone else, or he might even be dead and his identity stolen. Now we've got AI, which makes it even more complicated.
Yeah, absolutely.
It could be artificial intelligence. So the message, I think to sum it up, to say that if it's too good to be true, it generally is. So don't be fooled, because if there's one thing, and particularly when they target vulnerable people, if I've got a pet hate in this world, it really is that. Okay. So my contribution is just making a fool out of them and wasting their time in an entertaining way. Anyway. This is not about a plug for my scam watch. So if people want to work with you, they should go to the moneyconfidenceacademy.com.
Absolutely, yeah. Or listen to my podcast, Let's Talk Money and More, where they get more insight into, what I do, what I talk about, how I do it, etc.
How long have you been doing this? Did you tell me that at the start of the
program? So my podcast is just 203 episodes. Have
Good God, my lady.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's been going for 4 years in November this year.
Getting good downloads?
Oh God, thousands upon thousands, but I can't remember. I haven't looked relatively recently, but it's in the top 5% globally. So it's doing, it's doing pretty well, and I really enjoy it. And it's a mix of, like we're doing now, guest, and also me talking solo as well. And I brought out a book, Parents, Let's Talk Money and More, because that is my way of trying to get to a point where we really can make the next generation have the relationship with money that the prior generations haven't had. And let me give you a stat. If I may, I'll give you a stat that will solve Rachel Reeves' problem in one fair go. If every child was taught financial literacy from a young age, by 2050, that would put 200 billion into the UK coffers. Tell me, why are we not doing it?
Deliberate silence from me there to let that one sink in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
We're firefighting and it's not working, and the fire's getting bigger. And it is so important to be doing this. And I think one of my favorite takeaways is your self-worth has nothing to do with money. But the good news is you can have great self-worth and self-belief and have money.
Exactly.
You can have it all. It's not a question of fighting to prove your self-worth. You're already worthy. And that's really what
it is. Absolute. Everybody is capable of success. You have to believe you are capable, or go to somebody to help you to come to that conclusion. Because whether, as Henry Ford said, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. But the strongest one for me is fight for your limitations and you get to keep them.
Sure enough, they're yours. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Why do we cling to our limitations? In NLP, did they do this with you when you learned NLP? It was you were taught to say yes and to keep in rapport with someone rather than yes but, because it contradicts them, and it was a rapport exercise. And then if you said but, they go nice but, and then there was the gentleman's but, which is a however. They call that a gentleman's but. What's that?
I hadn't heard of the gentleman's butt, or however. Gentleman's however.
There's so much innuendo here, and for once, I'm not trying to be rude. A gentleman's butt is kind of a nice butt. It's like, Leslie, I agree. However,
and
it's not a direct contradiction. It's kind of a gentle butt.
And that's, that is a really, really good way of doing it. But, the reasons we hang on to our limiting beliefs is, number one, we believe them. So it's very difficult when you believe something to let it go. But also there is comfort in familiarity. So when we keep doing the same thing over and over again, there's a real comfort in that familiarity. And it is actually recognizing, it's a cliche, but growth happens outside of our comfort zone. So if we want to grow, we have to actually take a step right outside our comfort zone and recognize it's going to feel uncomfortable, but for a reason. Thank you very much, Dr. Asa. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, he's always got some wise words, Dr. Asa. He's been a guest on the show, and he's a super man. Not Superman, a super comma man. Leslie, congratulations. I've genuinely enjoyed your conversation with Neil. Was it a big leap for you, to quote Gay Hendricks? What was it like out of your comfort zone? Clearly, you've landed on your feet.
The biggest leap for me was being visible. So when I first became a confidence coach, a money coach, a business coach, I honestly believed all I had to do was change my profile on LinkedIn and they would come queuing, outside my office door, basically. I honestly didn't want to have my face on social media. I certainly did not want to be going live or on video on social media. I remember the first time that I went live. What date is it today, by the way? Funnily enough, listen, look at this. 5 years ago to the day, so the 6th of August, 2020, 6th of August, 2020 was the first time I went live on Facebook. and it was hideous. Hideous, but I did it. And now, look, I can come on a radio show. I can have 203 episodes of my podcast. I'm singing live on stage.
You practice what you preach, because you're super confident. You've been lovely to talk to and interview, and it's flowed very, very easily. So,
thank you.
And I hope that inspires some people watching, because there's the replay of the show, of course. And I've got this lovely little theory that someone will find one of these shows and just hear what they need to hear just at the right moment. And who knows, and it could pivot someone or send them in a more positive direction. And if that happens, I'm absolutely delighted. Leslie, it's been lovely. Thank you so much. Good luck. Good luck with everything. What I'll do, I'll send you the footage of this. If you want to discard it so it doesn't take up any space on your hard drive, by all means. But if you want to slice and dice it and use it for any marketing purposes, you're very welcome to do so. Please use it for whatever you want. There's no copyright issues or anything like that. So help yourself.
Thank you very much.
And if you'd like to learn more about Leslie's work, or good folks watching around the world, the moneyconfidenceacademy.com is the website you need to go to. And Scam Watch, 8:45 tomorrow on Radio Jackie 107.8, and you can find out the result of my conversation with the scammer. I'm quite enjoying this one, and I've got another one lined up as well. And do watch out for the scams. Leslie Thomas, thank you so much. It's been great.
Thank you very much.
All the very, very best. Take care.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
What a brilliant guest. Wasn't she lovely? Leslie Thomas, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Asa, do you know, I really enjoyed that as well. That hour absolutely flew by, didn't it? What a wonderful lady. Thank you all for listening. Dave, just want to pop this up. We only see a presentation of other people's success. Presentation plus flawed perception equals inaccurate view. Leads to assumptions, and we all know about assumptions. Yes, makes an ass out of you and me. Assumptions. Thank you very much. We send good wishes to Russ. We know he's going through a couple of problems at the moment, but we also know it's going to be all right. So we're reassured there, and his team around him have certainly got his back until he gets back. Let's for fun tell him that I did a show with death metal and panpipes, and we won't tell him that. That wouldn't be funny. He doesn't need that. Anyway, so we shall be covering for Russ till he gets back. I don't think Russ will be here on Friday, but Phil will. King of the Cravat, Phil Dave, Jonathan Baz, theatre critic, and Screen Queen Chantal Ricards as well, letting you know all the good things that are to watch on many of the media platforms that we have now. And it's going to be a great show with Phil. It's a typical sort of Friday show, up and lively and show busy, and a little different to what we do on Mondays and Wednesdays. But it's a great listen or watch. So I do hope you will tune in. I'll see you Monday, quite likely covering for Russ. And I will certainly see you next Wednesday. A very good afternoon to you. Take the best of care and all the best. Don't do anything I wouldn't.